one of the nation's most serious drug problems, and it's only getting worse. It's steroids.
Professional wrestler Chris Benoit killed his wife, 7-year-old son, and then hung himself. Why did he do it? Steroids found in the house.
Steroids cause suicidal tendencies.
They hallucinate. They hear voices.
Depression, paranoia, and
steroids could be the actual cause for the Benoit
Speculation is running wild.
I think these drugs could affect one's mindset.
Now we know.
Testosterone found
the steroids.
Let's cut through the crap. This is Steroids 101. First of all, the term steroids is often misused to describe any performance-enhancing drug, when in fact, many of these drugs are not actually steroids at all. So what are steroids? Well, steroids are synthetic versions of hormones that your body produces naturally. Like cortisone, that's a steroid. It signals the body to break down inflammation. Birth control pills are steroids too, made from the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. But the steroids that get all the negative attention are anabolic steroids, made from the male sex hormone testosterone, which tells the body to increase muscle size and strength and helps you recover from workouts faster. Like any drug, anabolic steroids do have side effects, and if you abuse them, the side effects will be worse. For men, they can cause acne, hair growth, raise cholesterol, shrink your testicles, and lower your sperm count, which could even make you sterile. But all of these side effects are reversible when you go off the drugs. Otherwise, steroids don't cause baldness, but if it runs in your family, they might make you go bald faster. And they can also cause gynecomastia, or what the gym rats call bitch tits. For women, in addition to acne and hair growth, steroids can cause a deepened voice, menstrual problems, and can enlarge the clitoris, and some of these are not reversible. And for kids, some experts think steroids can stunt growth by closing growth plates prematurely. But that's actually never been proven. There's also no proof that steroids cause cancer, kidney failure, and only oral steroids in high dosages can cause liver problems. And it's true that steroids may be one of 1,000 risk factors that could lead to heart disease. But then again, low testosterone is another big risk factor. And roid rage? Steroids can increase aggression, but that only happens in about 5% of the population. And even then, they can't make you psychotic. And as for the long-term side effects, we don't know. No one's ever done those studies.
It was really on what these things do that's good in the sense that they build muscle. They improve the way that people can perform. And that, in a sports context, was seen as the ultimate evil. If we took a pie chart of steroid use and we looked at what percentage of that pie is comprised of athletes, they would be a very, very, very small slice of that pie. The overwhelming majority of the pie is comprised of the recreational gym rat who's doing it purely for cosmetic reasons. The irony is that we've addressed a sports cheating issue by creating a law that affects all the folks who aren't cheating in sports.
Sportsmanship. You know what that means? Play fair.
When I was a kid, cheating was pretty clear-cut. Like when the $1 Million Man hired the referee's evil twin brother to cheat the Hulkster out of his title.
Is that Dave Hebner or is that Dave Hebner?
You know, cheating in other sports wasn't all that different. Remember when Joe Niekro was caught scuffing the ball with an emery board?
Something came out of his pocket.
Or what about when the Patriots were playing the Dolphins and they hired an ex-con to clear a spot in the snow for the field goal kicker? You can't do that.
I think it's the most unfair thing that I've ever been associated in.
Or like when Rosie Ruiz won the Boston Marathon.
The mystery woman winner, we missed her at all our checkpoints.
Why take steroids when you can take a bus? And who can forget when Tanya Harding hired a goon to take out Nancy Kerrigan's knee?
Why?
I guess if you can't beat him with a lead pipe. But somehow, steroids seem kind of different.
I thought in undergraduate school and in college I was a pretty good athlete. But I find myself angry in my gut. Because these are the same guys who would have taken me out. Not because they have more God-given natural talent than me, but because they enhanced with artificial means.
If using steroids is cheating, seems like a whole bunch of other stuff should be cheating too. Take Tiger Woods, for example. He had LASIK eye surgery, and now his vision's 20/15. That's better than perfect.
My eyes are stable, my game's a lot better. I feel pretty good coming in.
In a game that relies so much on depth perception, wouldn't superhuman vision be a performance enhancement? Then there's cortisone shots. They helped Curt Schilling win the World Series, and those are steroids too. Truth is, corticosteroids can have worse side effects than anabolic steroids, but they're used in sports every day.
He had a 20-minute cortisone shot after Monday's match after his back tightened up.
Here's an even more confusing example. Floyd Landis claims that he did not take steroids to win the Tour de France.
Truth is, I didn't use testosterone like I'm accused of doing. I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything outside of the rules. I won the Tour clean, and I deserve to win. I'm proud of it, and I always will be.
But he did sleep in his own altitude chamber.
I got my altitude chamber out by the garbage these days.
So you made this?
Yeah, it's not actually that hard to make. I didn't make the pipe. I just got the pipe from some construction site where they were putting in a water main.
Is the result pretty good?
For me, it makes a difference, yeah.
And how long do you stay in here for?
Sleeping there all night, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours.
Is your wife like, what are you doing?
Like
I'm going to go sleep in the chamber?
She hates it.
So you just climb in there?
Yeah, you want to try it out? You won't have a monitor in there, but I have it set to like about 13,000 feet.
See, sleeping in an altitude chamber produces a lot more red blood cells, which means more oxygen in your system, which means more endurance for a cyclist or a long-distance runner. There are 4 ways to increase your red blood cell count. You can sleep in an altitude chamber, like Floyd, or you could just train at the U.S. Olympic Training Center at 6,000 feet in Colorado. Then there's blood doping. That's when you draw your own blood a month before the big race, then re-inject it the night before. Finally, there's a drug called EPO, which simply tells your body to produce more red blood cells. So that's 4 ways to do the exact same thing, but 2 are allowed and 2 are cheating.
You done yet?
Hey! That's kind of weird.
No, it's nice, man. Once you get used to it, it's nice sleeping in there.
What's heartbreaking is my 8-year-old, his 2 favorite athletes are Barry Bonds and Lance Armstrong. My 4-year-old is obsessed with Floyd Landis. So what do you tell these kids? I talk to people all the time that they go, you know, who can my kids believe in? And what I tell them is nobody.
I ask not to be judged, and much less to be sentenced by anyone.
You can't trust anybody now because the testing is so ineffective. You don't know who's really clean, who's really dirty.
On average, 5,000 kids a year commit suicide in America, and most parents never know exactly why. I wanted to find out why Donald Hooten is so sure that the answer could be as simple as steroids. How you doing?
Fine.
Chris Bell.
Don Hooten, nice to meet you. This is a very, very competitive community, all the way from athletics to business. So you wind up in an affluent area where these kids can afford to play with this stuff. And of course, in hindsight, as we look back, all of the signs were staring us in the face. The behavior problems, the physical changes, but we had no idea what we were looking at. If we go back to the medical textbook, you know, the depression that comes along with steroid use is bad, but it's worse in that 4 to 6 week period following stopping using this stuff. And it was during that period that his mother found him hanging on the door in his bedroom. Together, we came up with the idea of creating a private organization
to educate the public about the dangers of anabolic steroid abuse.
We took Taylor to a psychiatrist, and she put him on a low dose of Lexapro. And as far as I know, this is the only steroid-related case that this well-meaning psychiatrist had ever had. And when the psychiatrist recommended that Taylor go cold turkey and stop using steroids, was a formula for disaster.
My father or my grandfather never worried about whether they had a six-pack of abdominals or what percentage body fat they had. So why is it now, you know, in the 21st century that there's this huge preoccupation with body image that just didn't exist before?
Dr. Harrison Pope is a psychiatrist who studies why American men are becoming more obsessed with their bodies.
So here we have G.I. Joe from the 1960s. This is when he first came out at the time of the Vietnam War. He's a perfectly normal-looking dude. Here is G.I. Joe from about 10 years later, from the mid-1970s.
He's got abs now.
He's clearly been putting in some time in the gym. And then here is G.I. Joe from the 1990s. Bicep is up to 16 inches or so, full six-pack of abs, even got serratus muscles visible on the side. This evolution in the action figures is a testimony to this increased preoccupation with body image that we've been seeing in the United States. And it's funny that in our culture that we still tend to romanticize steroids to a certain way, that you'll see an ad for some SUV, that says, "This is our sedan on steroids." But you wouldn't see an ad for an SUV saying, "This is our sedan on cocaine."
Well, it's sort of like a golf cart on steroids.
It looked like an easy bake oven on steroids.
It's sort of the economy on steroids.
Think of it as Apollo on steroids.
This year, the jet stream has really been on steroids.
Kosovo would be Bosnia on steroids.
Adding more U.S. trainers and advisors, essentially putting the current strategy on steroids.
We are besieged every day with images of muscular male bodies on TV, in the movies, in cartoons, on magazines at the checkout counter in the department store, all of which seem to give this message that a real man is big and muscular.